In 2024, one question has been framed by UPSC regarding the official language. Although there is a separate chapter there in the Constitution of India regarding official languages, but this question was framed from schedule part of the Indian Constitution. Although this question was very factual enough, but it required conceptual clarity in order to solve such kind of questions. Hello everyone, myself Anurag Bharadwaj, and in today's video we shall discuss and learn about schedules of the Indian Constitution. In this video we will try to cover all the dimensions as well as all the conceptual clarity of this particular chapter of Indian Constitution. So let's start the video. First we shall discuss about schedule. What is a schedule? A schedule could be considered as a kind of additional or extra part to the Constitution of India, added by constitutional framer with the aim to provide or with the aim to organize or to provide administrative as well as legislative functions. So it's a kind of like extra or additional part to the Constitution that provide the extra conceptual clarity regarding the oath and information, emoluments, salary, Rajya Sabha seats, etc., etc. So let's start the schedule part one by one. First, we will try to learn all the schedule, all 12 schedules of the Indian Constitution with the help of trick. Before that, I'll share one of the information here. At the time of inception of the Constitution, there were total 8 schedules. At the time of the inception of the Constitution, there were only 8 schedules, but as of now, total number has been increased to 12. It means 4 schedules were added later by the Parliament of India. So now we will try to learn all the schedules with the help of this trick called Tiers of Old PM. Here, this trick is very famous as well as important from the point of view of examination. When UPSC has framed the question from like upper part, shallow questions, those shallow questions could be solved with the help of this trick called Tiers of Old PM. But when UPSC will frame the question from the internal part or the inner part of schedules, then we have to understand all the dimensions which will be covered here in this video. Tiers of Old PM, here this T stands for territory. That talks about union and its territory. India as a whole has some certain amount of territory that has been identified and discussed here in this first schedule. Second stands for E, stands for emoluments. Emoluments means it talks about remuneration, it talks about the salary, it talks about those privileges that has been provided to some certain persons or the personalities who are the part of India. Third, schedules, where there is a, it stands for affirmation. Affirmation means oath and affirmation that has been covered here. R stands for Rajya Sabha. Here we will see allocation of the seats there in the Rajya Sabha from the different states and the UT shall covered there in the Schedule 4 of Indian Constitution. Next, S and O. These are the two. S and O, these two schedules, namely Schedule 5 and 6 of the Indian Constitution that deal with schedule and tribal area. Schedule and tribal areas are those where some certain tribal people reside, and these two schedules were added there for the administration and the control of a schedule and tribal area. Schedule 5th talks about only tribal area in general, but there are some certain states which are very important, which are very famous, namely Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. For that, second, it means 6th schedule was added. F stands for federation or federal. Federal nature of the Union of India. Federal nature in the sense division or distribution of power between the center and state is a part of Schedule 7 that talks about how many powers are vested there in the Parliament, how many powers are vested there in the state to frame the laws, to make the laws. That's a part of Schedule 7. O stands for official languages. The same question has been asked in 2024. O stands for official languages, where there are some certain languages there in the India. Next, L stands for land reforms. D stands for defection or anti-defection. P stands for Panchayati Raj, and M stands for municipality. So we can say that these are total 12 schedules of the Indian Constitution which could be remembered with the help of this trick called Tiers of Old PM. I am going to memorize and revise this part again. First one, T stands for territory, union and its a territory. E stands for emoluments or the salary. A stands for affirmation, oath and affirmation. R stands for allocation of seats there in the Rajya Sabha. S stands for, S and O, these two stands for schedule and tribal area, control and the administration of the schedule and tribal area, which were mentioned there in the schedule 5 and 6 respectively. F stands for federal nature of the state, that talks about the division of power. Then O stands for official languages. L talks about land reforms. D talks about defection or anti-defection law that prohibit defection. Then P and M. P stands for Panchayati Raj and M stands for municipality. Okay. Now here comes a question, and this question should be there in your mind, that when we talk about rest of the four schedules, those were added later. These schedules were schedule 9, 10, 11 and 12. Schedule 9, as we have seen, schedule 9 talks about the land reform added through first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951. Then the second, schedule 10, added through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1985. Then 11th and 12th, these were added through 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. So that's a kind of, we can say, that's the end of the edition of the schedule till the date. Right now we can say that the last time the schedule part was amended in 1992 when two more chapters were added there, namely schedule 11 and schedule 12, that directly deals with Panchayati Raj and municipalities respectively. Here there is one more question, one more conceptual clarity that should be there in your mind, then that when we talk about this schedule 9, as we have seen, that schedule 9 was added through first amendment of 1951, but again there is a glitch there in the politics, that the first election of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha were held there in 1952, while the first amendment was made there in 1951 only. And here comes a question, that in the first amendment of the Indian Constitution, there was no Rajya Sabha, there was no Lok Sabha, there was interim parliament, there was a single unicameral parliament that amended the Constitution in 1951. It means the same question has been asked by some certain PCAs, especially Rajasthan Public Service Commission, that talks about that in first amendment or in the 9th schedule, when it was added to the Constitution, there was no any consent of Rajya Sabha. The statement is totally correct, as there was no Rajya Sabha there in 1951. It was added in 1952 only, and that's why we can say that Rajya Sabha was absent there at the time of 1951 when the first Constitution amendment was added to the Constitution. That should be in your mind, you should keep this part in your mind, because this is the conceptual clarity only. Okay, so let's see all the schedule one by one. First we will talk about schedule 1. As we have seen, schedule 1 talks about states and the union territories. States and union territories is a unification part of the Union of India, where we will see that India, the expansion of the geographical territory of the India falls within the category of the states and union territory. As of now, you must have seen that there are total 28. There are total, how many states? 28 states are there in the India, along with 8 UTs, and it talks about their jurisdiction also. Jurisdiction means when the Rajasthan government or the UP government or the Bihar government is going to frame any law, then this law would be implemented within the territory that fall under the jurisdiction of the same state. It means it talks about the jurisdiction as well as geographical territory of a particular state and the UTs that has been decided and that has been decided by Parliament and mentioned there in the schedule 1 of Indian Constitution. Okay, next chapter, next schedule 2, it talks about the emoluments, allowances and the privileges, but not for all. There are some certain offices, there are some certain authorities under the union or the state's government that has been mentioned there in the schedule 2, or in another way we can say that these are the authorities whom allowances or emoluments or the salaries are charged upon consolidated fund of India or states. Consolidated fund means a kind of saving account of the union or the states. These are the charged, their salaries are charged upon these funds. It means there is no negative change can be made there in the salaries or the allowances of these personalities. Who are they? The union authorities have President of India, second one Supreme Court judges, third one presiding officers of Parliament. Now again we have to explain this one. Parliament has two parts. Parliament has two houses, namely Rajya Sabha upper house and Lok Sabha lower house. When we talk about presiding officers includes speaker, chairman and vice chairman for Rajya Sabha and speaker and deputy speaker in Lok Sabha. So we can say that in this particular line there are total 4 authorities, there are total 4 personalities would be the part of this presiding officer. In the Lok Sabha there would be speaker and deputy speaker, while in the Rajya Sabha there would be chairman and vice chairman. Okay, this should be there in your mind. So I am again repeating this one. In the union authorities we will see the first one person who will get the salary from the consolidated fund of India would be the President of India. Second one would be Supreme Court judges. Third one would be presiding officers, and presiding officers include Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha presiding officers, and there are 2 in number in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Let's say for example in the Lok Sabha it would be speaker and deputy speaker, while in case of Rajya Sabha it would be chairman and vice chairman. And again here comes a question that you must have heard that the Vice President of India would be by default chairman of Rajya Sabha. The Vice President of India would be by default chairman of Rajya Sabha. And here comes a question that the name of Vice President has not been mentioned there anywhere there in the Schedule 2nd. It means when we talk about the Vice President of India is not liable to get the salary from the consolidated fund of India. He or she would get the salary in the form of presiding officer of Rajya Sabha, not as the Vice President of India. The person is same, but the authority or the name of the office would be chairman. The name of the office would be chairman, not the Vice President of India. Should be kept in your mind. Last but not the least, Comptroller and Auditor General. Okay, one more fact here. Comptroller and Auditor General is a person who is responsible for the auditing of government accounts of central government as well as state governments. And this is a single post, this is a single office. There is no as such any office there in the states separately for the state to, for their auditing. This is a single person, and that is why we will see that the Comptroller and Auditor General is a common person there in the union as well as state authorities. This is a common person. Although this person would get the salary from the consolidated fund of India, not from the states, but the person would be counted here in the both authorities, union and states, as he is a common person. There is no other office there in the state for auditing. Next, there are some state authorities. The first one is governors of states, equivalent to president. When we talk about the union, person would be president. For the states, the person would be governors. Their salaries are also charged upon the consolidated fund of states. Second, High Court judges, same as Supreme Court judges, High Court judges would be there. And the last but not the least, presiding officers of state legislature. Again, state legislature is also bicameral structure, where there would be state legislative assembly as well as state legislative council. So there are also 4 persons here in the presiding officer list. So we can say that this is the picture where these persons would get the salaries, allowances or privileges, they are mentioned under Schedule 2nd. Here comes the next one, oath and affirmation. Oath and affirmation. First, what is the difference between the oath and affirmation? When we are taking, when we are like affirming the thing under a particular, government structure, or in the name of God, or in the name of a particular, legal structure, then it would be treated as oath. While the person is affirming the thing without any pressure, without any name, without any name of a God or other, then it would be considered as affirmation. What does that mean? You must have heard that just before the election, a candidate would fill the form and he would disclose the information about his property or the gold, possession of silver, number of wives, number of children and everything. This is the part of the affirmation. If any false information found by that Election Commission of India, the candidature of the same person can be cancelled at any time. So we can say that oath and affirmation are two things, and here there is a list of the persons who are responsible for the oath and affirmation, or we can say the performer of the oath and affirmation has been mentioned there in the schedule 3rd. These are the authorities, and to learn these authorities I shall discuss one very quick formula here. You will see that when a candidate is going to appear there in the election, keep it in your mind. We are going to imagine a hypothetical situation. Let's say, for example, there is a person called A. This person was appeared there in the election and won the election. Again, this person entered there in the Lok Sabha and became the member of Lok Sabha. And again, by luck, this person became, for example, Minister of Home Affairs, MHA. Person is same, the name is A of that person. Person is same, common. But this person became first, he contested the election, then became the member of Lok Sabha, and then became the Minister of Home Affairs. In this condition, how many times oath has been affirmed by this person? Number would be 3. Number would be 3. For example, again I am repeating this one, because when the person is going to contest the election for the first time, he has to fill the form in front of collector. That would be the first affirmation. After getting membership there in the Lok Sabha, the person would again affirm the, person would again take the oath there in the Lok Sabha membership. Again, there would be second number of affirmation. And the last but not the least, when the person would hold the office, then he or she would get the oath and affirmation regarding the maintenance of secrecy of the office or confidentiality of the office. So we can say a person would take 3 times oath if the person is going to be a minister. If he is not going to be a minister but still he is a member of Lok Sabha, in that condition he has to take 2 oaths. And if a person who is appearing there in the election and lost the election, in that condition too the person has to take oath at least for once. So we can say these are the statements. We can totally understand this one here. Let's say, for example, if there is a person who never won the election, in that condition too the person has to take oath just to appear there in the election, just to contest the election. Okay. So this is the same. For the union and state ministers, they have to take oath. Candidate for the parliament and state legislature, these are those candidates who are going to contest the election. There is no result whether they can pass or fail, but ultimately they have to contest the oath. They have to take the oath before they contest the election. Next one, members of the parliament and the state legislature. Now they won the election and became the members. Then too they have to take oath. So these are the 3 things. Apart from that, there is again judges of the High Court and Supreme Court, and the last but not the least, it would be Comptroller and Auditor General. Should be kept in your mind that a person, a candidate, then the member and then minister, all the persons have to take oath 3 times. Okay, and apart from that, High Court and Supreme Court judges and Comptroller and Auditor General. Okay, next one would be Schedule 4. Here again there is a very interesting thing. Rajya Sabha was framed by the constitution framer in a different manner. We have taken this parliamentary model from the England, and in the England or the UK we can say that there is a House of Lords, and House of Lords are those emirates, or we can say those rich people from the society who had some certain possession over the property. Initially, if I would say in the layman term, you must have heard about the feudal system. There was a king, and under the crown there were multiple feuds who were working there. So those feuds who got their membership there in the House of Lords, and later those rich people got the membership in the upper house of UK. When we brought this model, so this model was almost same, but the election procedure and the allocation of seats was completely different from the UK. First thing. Second, as of now we will see that whole system was based on the population. Allocation of seats is based on the population, and this population This population is calculated on the behalf of census of 1971. This will remain till 2026. After that, census would be changed, and now we have to consider some different census. So first question is, as of now, allocation of seats of Rajya Sabha depends upon the census of 1971. First fact. Second one, allocation is not uniform. Uniform in the sense, when there is a population higher there in the states, number of seats in the Rajya Sabha would be higher. When there is a state where the population is very low, number of seats automatically would be lower. And there are some certain territories called union territories which have no representation there in the Rajya Sabha. Keep it in your mind. So let's see. There are some certain states having maximum seats in the Rajya Sabha. The first one would be UP. Maximum number of seats are 31. The second one would be Maharashtra. 19 seats are there. Third one would be Tamil Nadu. 18 seats are there. Fourth one would be Bihar. And fourth, basically both are same. Bihar and West Bengal. Both have 16 seats there in the Rajya Sabha. Here there are some states or UTs with the minimum seats. There are 7 sisters except Assam. Assam has 7 seats. Except Assam, there are 7 sisters, namely 6 states of the northeast having 1 seat. Each have 1 seat. Second one is Goa. Third one is Puducherry, that is a UT. And last one is Sikkim, that is having 1 seat there in the Rajya Sabha. Apart from that, we will see that there are some certain UTs. Although all UTs did not have their representation there in the Rajya Sabha, but 3 UTs are there, namely Delhi, Puducherry and J&K. Delhi has 3 seats, Puducherry, as we have seen, 1 seat, and Jammu Kashmir has 4 seats there in the Rajya Sabha. That's a kind of proper allocation of Rajya Sabha there in the state. Same question has been asked by UPSC earlier. Keep it in your mind that there is no any uniformity of seats there in Rajya Sabha. There is no any uniformity of seats in the Rajya Sabha. It means having more population, state would get more seats. Having lower population, state would get minimum seats or lower seats. Okay, all the UTs do not have their representation there in the Rajya Sabha. There are only 3 UTs having representation, namely Delhi NCR. Second one would be Jammu and Kashmir, and the third one and the final would be Puducherry. Okay, next 5 and 6, as we have discussed. 5 and 6, these are the 2 schedules. Basically, these are the twin sisters that talks about administration and the control of schedule and schedule areas and schedule tribes. Both are same. The difference is Schedule 6 talks about 4 major states that are different than rest of the other territories, namely Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Inko we can like identify as ATMM2. ATMM stands for Assam. ATMM stands for Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya and Mizoram. This could be a trick to remember and memorize these 4 states mentioned there in the Schedule 6. Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya and Mizoram. Okay. And apart from these 4 states, apart from the schedule and tribal areas of these 4 states, rest of the schedule and tribal areas have been mentioned there in the Schedule 5. So as of now, we have completed till 6th schedule of Indian Constitution. Now, in the next video, part 2nd of the video, we shall discuss about from Schedule 7 to Schedule 12. Till then, thank you, Namaskar, Dhanyavad.